only problem with filming outside is all of the noise. Hi guys, it's Madeline and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I thought we would take things at a little bit of a different pace. I felt that I would talk to you guys about gap years. Yay! Yes! I am currently taking my gap year and I thought this was quite a relevant topic to talk about, especially this whole pandemic might have affected university offers and whether you might defer your university offers for next year or if you're at the beginning of your process are thinking about doing a gap year. So I would talk about my experiences, why I decided to take the gap year, what I did during my gap year, and if I have any advice. So first, I thought that I would talk about why I decided to take a gap year. There's a lot of misconceptions about why people take gap years. It's because they don't know what they want to do. I am quite the opposite. I am very confident with what I want to do with life. I want to be an actress. So I had actually intended on not doing a gap year and going to university. I started the college process in my senior year like everyone else did because I was applying for a BFA in musical theater and a BFA in acting. It means that I have to send off tapes to a lot of schools. Then the schools let me know if they want to see me or not for an actual audition. I might do another video about what it's like to apply for drama schools and theater programs in both the US and UK with my experience. Stay tuned for that. About halfway through my senior year, around November, I was starting the college process and trying to meet my deadlines for colleges, as well as trying to battle my own senior year deadlines. And because I did the IB, which is like a little bit of a tougher and vigorous course, I was dealing with all of that craziness, plus trying to have like the best senior year ever. I found it very, very overwhelming. My dad had taken a gap year and he just casually brought it up in conversation saying, hey, like, what do you think about maybe doing a gap year? We were coming up to my actual college auditions for the universities that had asked to see me. They were also in the middle of my mock exams, and I was also trying to do my last senior show in high school. With enough discussion, I kind of decided that, yeah, a gap year would let me take a breath, focus on my IB and my exams and all of the academic stuff while also trying to maintain a senior year, and then I can focus on university and all of that next year. So that was initially kind of why. It was also a conversation I had with my English teacher. Shout out to Mr. Boodman. My English teacher was going around the class asking where people have gotten offers. I wasn't confident in anything that I was doing. Said I might be doing a gap year, I don't know. And my English teacher, who's a man I very much respect, said, oh, I did a gap year, and explained a whole story about his struggles of high school and going into university and that transition and his gap year. I found it very inspiring. That kind of pushed me over the edge, as well as my theater teacher, shout out to Miss Nicholson, was just very supportive. And when I kind of brought up the idea that I was gonna do a gap year, she kind of sighed with relief and was like, yeah, I think you just need that break. You need to be able to kind of handle one thing at a time. The moral of that story I learned is it's totally okay to feel overwhelmed in something. And I feel like in school you are overwhelmed all the time, but you know there's an end in sight. And I thought I was juggling with like my future. So I came to the decision to take my gap year just because I wanted to focus on one thing at a time. Yeah. So next, a lot of people have wondered, what have I done with my gap year? When I first started my gap year, me and my dad decided that there were 3 goals that I had to come up with, because if I go into my gap year goalless, then what on earth am I doing? This is a major piece I'm going to talk about later, but I think it's very important that if you decide to take a gap year, like really set out some goals for yourself, because then you're just going to feel like you're sitting aimlessly doing nothing. The first goal was that I was going to do, obviously, the college process and to be able, at the end of it, know where I'm going to university and be confident in where I was going to university. Obviously, that was a clear one. If I didn't kind of do that, then the whole gap year would be for nothing. My second goal was I wanted some work experience. It's kind of nice to have under your belt, make some cash, picked up an internship at a theater company here in Singapore called the Singapore Repertory Theater. I was a sales intern, so it was all office work, which surprisingly enough, I actually enjoyed. I was able to work in box office, and I was able to see how a production goes from the first read all the way through to the last show, right before my very eyes, working in an office environment. If you can't sell the tickets for a show, then what's the point? I was able to meet Lea Salonga, who's like a huge Broadway name, and she did a show here, and she was literally there, and it was crazy. So like, I really enjoyed the experience for what it was, but also gave me a huge amount of gratitude and perspective and experiences, and I loved it. My third goal was to have a major life experience. Something that I know that I'll remember my gap year for specifically and be like, oh, I did this, or I worked on that. I was able to go to Australia and work on the Cricket Women's T20 World Cup. How do I start to talk about this? First off, I knew nothing about cricket. We went to Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, and then I went back to Melbourne for the final, and Katy Perry was there, and I loved it. Just seeing production and direction from that side of things, I felt like really tied everything together. Now I know cricket, so those were my 3 goals. Not only that, but also in my gap year, I went to go see my best friend in Boston. I was able to see some friends in Chicago. That was pretty good. I met up with a friend in Australia. I made incredible friends during this internship, like shout out to Naz and Helena. I also became closer friends with other people, like my lovely friend Columba, who's featured a lot. Obviously, because this pandemic has taken over, it's kind of crunched my style for the last kind of part of my gap year. My next plans were to go to the UK and finish up my college auditions for the UK schools, but I've actually quite enjoyed it because it's made me spend a lot of time at home to see my family before I go off and I leave and I go to university and then I start my own life. Yeah, so that is what I did on my gap year. Now we're gonna talk about lovely advice. Anytime anyone talks to me about doing a gap year, I cannot recommend it enough. High school is really tough. People don't give high school kids enough credit for actually how tough it is. So I really enjoyed just taking a breather from school and learning and being able to have my own life experiences. So if that's what you're worrying about, I say go for it. If you don't know what to do with your life, take this opportunity to try out new hobbies, get an internship somewhere, really experiment before you commit to anything. Coming back to setting goals. Set out those goals and say, okay, well, from this month to this month, I'll do this, and from this month and this month, I'll do this. Because then it feels like your gap year was successful and meaningful and something that meant a lot to you, rather than just like time where you were able to sleep in till 1:30. Totally not like I have done that. What? I'll let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. The one thing that was holding me back a lot of the time from saying that I was gonna do a gap year and really committing to it was the fact that I was scared that people were gonna think that I was a failure. And now that I'm looking back, no one was thinking that. I think a lot of people were envious, because since then people have come up to me being like, damn, I should have done a gap year. If the fear and the judgment from other people is what's holding you back, just try and block it out as much as possible, because you're holding yourself back from what can be probably one of the best decisions you could have ever made. For me, taking this gap year was the perfect decision because I was able to take a breath, focus on what I wanted to do, one thing at a time, and really feel like I made the most of everything that I did. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a different kind of video, but I thought that it would be interesting for me to kind of show my point of view and perspective on why I took a gap year and any advice and stuff I had. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Oh my gosh, shout out to Mikey. He probably doesn't watch these videos, but shout out to Mikey, who designed this shirt from his gap year. He did the Mongol rally, and this was his team's logo that he made, and then they put on shirts. I didn't even put two and two together that I was wearing his shirt, and he also did a gap year. Boom!